Hello, this is Courtney with C. Clark Creative. Thanks for joining me. Today's card is You're a Peach, and it's from a collection of products from the Greetery, which I have been just absolutely loving lately. It's the Peachy Keen stamp and stencil set. Comes with layering stamps, the 3 stencils, and then the dies that coordinate are also available. The stamp and stencil guide kind of lays out for you how everything's going to work together. Basically, the 3 stencils are labeled 1, 2, and 3. It's hard to see on the video, but in the upper left-hand corner there is basically an embossed 1, 2, and 3. And you start with the peach base, and that essentially takes the place of having to stamp the base layer of the peaches that you can see. There's one, that's the top layer, and then the base and the top layer. So this stencil will basically take care of that layer for you, and it fits an A2 sized card, which is very easy to line up just because of the way they've created this stencil. You'll be able to see on the second stencil that when I'm doing some blending on that, so you'll be able to see. But I'm just showing you the dies that match up with the leaves in that. I'm not going to be using the dies today, but they are available for separate elements. So what I'm going to do to prepare these stencils is put some Pixie Spray on the back. So I just put them in, I have a spray box, make sure in a ventilated area. You don't need a lot of this spray. You just put a little bit on. It takes just a few minutes to dry, and it puts just a really light tack on the back of your stencil, so it holds onto the card very, very well. So I've just put that light spray on these, and then within just a few minutes I was ready to stencil. So I pull out my Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station, which is well loved. I love my Make Art Station. It's not required because I've got the Pixie Spray on the stencils, but I still like to have just that added security just in case I get a bit vigorous with my blending, that I know it's gonna stay put. So I'm using Simon Says Stamp inks today. I'm starting with Clementine for these ink bases, or these peach bases. And just using some blending brushes. I got it off of Amazon. I'm currently testing them really well. I'll have a review out for them soon. But you can see here I'm lining up the card on the back of the stencil for number 2. There's indentations on the back of the card, so it's very easy to line up the card. You don't have to try to align it from the top. You just match up the card to the back of those alignments and it's good to go. So for these leaves, I'm using the Simon Says Stamp green leaf, and I also have a scrap of the Simon Says Stamp cardstock that I use for part of the sentiment later. So it's just a scrap that I'd found that matched perfect with my ink because it's coordinating. Anyway, I've onto the third stencil here using Rosy Cheeks. Nope, that's Rose Apple. I use Rose Apple. Nope, Rosy Cheeks. It's Rosy Cheeks. Sorry for the base layer. I'm going to do my stamping, my accent stamping on the peaches and the flowers, both with the Rose Apple, which is a deeper pink color. Now I use the same color on the flowers and the peaches, but because this color I'm stamping on is different, the color does look different, so it looks like I'm using more colors than I am. So I just place the 2 stamps, get the first ones inked here, and then what I do is I just pull out a transparent film. I have my grid here that's available through Simon Says Stamp, but I'm not using the grids on it. I'm just using it as a clear surface between my inky stamp and my card. That way I can move these stamps around to get the alignment, and then I'm not inadvertently getting ink all over my card panel. So whenever you see that panel, it's just I'm moving these inked stamps around. So I'm going to move through, get all the peaches completed, and then I'm adding the accent on the flowers. Again, it's the same ink color, but you can see it does show up differently just because it's a darker pink on a pink rather than on a yellow. And then to do the accent on the leaves, I use Beanstalk green, and it has a very nice help for that. This stamp set has a larger leaf stamp, so you don't have to try to match up all the individual leaves. So you get those stamped all in one bit. I'm using the grid lines to help line up my cardstock just because I can't have it against the edge for those. And then I'm using Sparrow ink for the stems and the stamens on the flowers. So for this whole project, I use 5 ink colors. Here I have an electronic eraser that I'm just cleaning up some of that excess ink. So 6 ink colors I use on the whole project. I just had to double check that. The yellow for the peach, the 2 pinks, the 2 greens, and the brown. So now moving on to the Just Peachy Sentiments and Dies, which is a complementary bit of products that match up really well with Peachy Canes. So stamp set is cute. It has different sentiments. Life's a peach, Just Peachy, Hoping Your Day is Peachy. Some different options there. So for the sentiment on the top of the card, I'm just using Your A. And then I will die cut out Peach and the background from different cardstock. Peach is going to be from white cardstock, and then the green leaf Simon Says stamp cardstock for the background on that sentiment. And then on the inside of the card here, I'm adding a stamped sentiment, Hoping Your Day is Peachy. So what I'm doing here is I stamp Peachy in the Clementine, and then I just kind of lightly tap over with my darker pink just to get a bit of a gradient, some variation on the color. Sorry, that was rose apple that I was using there. And then I'm stamping the layered peach, small peach that comes with the Just Peachy Sentiment set, and just layering that using the same colors I did for the peaches on the front of the card. So it's giving a little bit of interest to the inside of the card. Again, using my electronic eraser just to get rid of some of the little ink smudgy marks. I tend to be a fairly messy stamper, so I generally have a bit of cleaning up to do. So there's my scrap bit of cardstock that I'm going to cut the background out of. And then for the Peachy, for the actual words, I'm cutting 3 sets, which I glue the 3 sets together just to give a little bit of dimension, using Gina Connect glue to get these layers put together. I have a glue stand that I use as a little bit of a weight. When you don't see one of my sentiment pieces, it's because it's underneath that green glue holder. I just kind of use it to give a little bit of pressure to help adhere everything together well. And then I have basically a pick that I use for getting die cut pieces out, but I also use it if I have a little bit of excess glue squeeze out in between layers. I'll just run that pick around and it cleans up the excess glue. So here I'm just kind of figuring out my alignment, making sure that this fits across the center of the card, and then cutting off any excess bits. Then I'm going to start putting this card together. Again, I use the Gina Connect glue to get the card base and the card panel put together. The card base is a Neenah Classic Crest Solar White 110 pound cardstock. The cardstock that I use for the card panel itself that the peaches and leaves are on, that is an 80 pound Neenah Classic Crest Solar White. That's generally, my card panels are 80 pound, my card base is 110 pound. So I glued the 2 sentiments together, and then I'm using the scrapbook.com double-sided adhesive foam roll onto the back just to give a little bit of dimension. I really like this foam adhesive from scrapbook.com. It comes in different widths and easy to use. So I have Scotch foam tape for larger projects, and then I have this thinner foam tape for smaller sentiments. So get these pieces put together, and with that, this card is complete. Thank you for joining me today. Always glad to have you here. Please like, subscribe, click the notification bell so you can keep up to my posts. Thanks for being here.